Hey guys, it's Noreen here. Today I'm going to share my top tips on how to get the perfect French on the shortest of nails. If you'd like to keep up to date with all my videos, please hit that subscribe button and hit the bell button to be notified every time I upload. My first top tip is how you remove the product from your C&D Shellac base coat brush. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the handle of the brush has a thick side, and if you flip it over, it has a thinner side. So thick side, thinner side. You should always scrape the product off on the thick side. So I'm going to pop that brush handle back in. I'm going to scrape all the product off one side of the handle, do the same on the other side, and then follow that direction to scrape all of the product off the brush. What this does is it gives you a nice thin brush, so I can see there's a little bit of excess product there. I'm just going to put it back in and scrape it, but do you see how thin and flat that brush now is? That's the shape that you want. A common mistake that I see people making is they swirl the brush as it's being removed from the bottle. By doing this, you end up with a twisted brush that still has quite a lot of product on it. What I also see is sometimes they'll pull it out and they'll scrape in the direction, but then they'll also go in several other directions. The problem with this is it creates a perfectly cylindrical brush, and again, that's holding a lot of product. So what you want to do is scrape in the way that the brush is crimped, which is on the thicker side of the handle, and you can see you end up with a nice, thin, flat brush with no product. So on our model today, we've got the perfect nail to put our skills to the test. You can see there is hardly any extension edge at all, and we have a little bit of excess skin right at the very tip of the nail, and as we all know, this is the hardest to do French on. This nail has already been pepped, and I'm just going to give it a thorough scrub now with some Scrub Fresh. If you notice, I'm really getting underneath the free edge of that nail and making sure it's nice and clean. Okay, with that base coat brush that we've prepared from earlier, you can see I've got hardly any product on the brush and it's nice and thin. I'm going to face the brush towards me, and I'm going to zoom you right in close so you can see what I'm doing. So I've placed it on the edge of the nail, and now I'm scrubbing out over. Watch how I pinch that skin, and I'm using quite a firm pressure. It's not going to hurt your client, but it's important that you remove any of that excess skin. Change your grip if you need to, and scrub the edge of the nail with the tips of the brush just barely hanging over it. This is going to give you a nice extension seal. Don't worry about any excess product that's laying on the surface of the nail, we'll come to that in a minute. All we're worried about is sealing in that extension edge, and as you can see, you've got a nice shine all the way across that extension edge. I can see right in that very top right hand corner I've missed a tiny little bit, so I'm just going to go back in, pull all that excess skin out of the way, and start scrubbing again to just make sure I've got a nice seal. If I flip the finger to one side, you can see I do have a little bit of an excess build-up of product, but I'm just going to ignore it. All my next strokes are going to completely eliminate that problem. For painting the top of the nail, we now need to reload the brush with some product. So you're going to dip it back in, scrape one side of the brush, and you can see I've got a tiny little blob on the underside of my brush. That's enough product now to completely coat the whole surface of the nail. So using the C&D 5-point polish method, you're going to place the brush into the centre first and drag down. Place it back into the centre, push down on the brush to create a semicircle shape that matches the cuticle area, scrub it up towards and pull down, rotate to the right and come down the left hand side, rotate to the left and come down the right hand side. If you feel there's any excess product, you can do 1 or 2 finishing strokes just to make sure you've got a nice thin even application all over the nail. If you get any little bit on the skin, which can sometimes happen, I'm just going to use a Licente G1 brush, dampened with some IPA, keeping it nice and thin so that it doesn't take off the seal, and all I'm going to do is pinch back the skin a little bit and just take off any of that excess product. You can now cure this on the number 1 button in the LED lamp. Once it's cured, you're going to do the exact same steps as before. So if you notice there's hardly any product on this brush, and I'm using C&D Shellac in Negligee as my pink, you're going to seal in that extension edge. You can see there's a lot of excess product at the end of that nail. It doesn't matter, using the C&D 5-point polish method will eliminate any excess product that sits on the tip of your finger. If you clean up anything that's got onto the skin, you can now pop that on the 2S setting. Using C&D Shellac in Cream Puff, we're doing the exact same steps as before, but Cream Puff is the most difficult to get a clean result with. Sometimes a little bubble appears at the top of the bottle, so you must pop it and then just keep trying to scrape it. You can see, even though I've been scraping for a while, I still have a lot of product on, so just take your time with this. Patience is key. Once you're happy with it, we are now going to seal in that extension edge again. So normally with the C&D 5-point polish method, you don't seal the extension edge twice, but because we've changed colour from negligee to cream puff, it's now important that we seal in that extension edge so that the final result looks beautiful. This white is going to allow you to see exactly how I'm just using the very bristles of the brush just barely over the extension edge to create a nice seal. Even though we're doing a French, I'm not bothering about what it looks like from the top. All I'm worried about at the moment is sealing in that extension edge. Once I'm happy with the seal, now I'm going to focus on the smile line. I haven't picked up any excess product. Cream Puff is so pigmented that whatever is left on the brush will be perfectly fine, and if you go back in and add more product, you're going to get too thick of an application, and also it's just going to create issues for you. The secret to creating a really nice clean crisp edge is to work quickly with your Cream Puff. If you take too long, then the solvents evaporate and you get a patchy result as new product overlaps old product. You don't have to worry about getting your smile line application absolutely perfect, because you can always adjust it by using your Licente G1 brush dampened with some IPA. So I'm just going to get a little lint-free pad and I'm going to soak it in some IPA, and I'm going to take my Licente G1 brush from before and I'm just going to wipe it. Picking up your IPA on the brush this way prevents marbleizing of your white. If you have an excess amount of IPA on the brush, sometimes it can flow into the white and creates a tide mark effect. This is irreversible, so picking up the IPA on your brush this way is going to give you a more foolproof French each and every time. I'm going to start my brush in the centre of the French smile line and sweep slowly and surely up to that little corner. Notice how the bristles of my brush don't really move. That's because I'm using an extremely light pressure. Once you're happy, you're going to go back into the centre and sweep from side up to the other corner. Once I've finished doing this, I'm just going to take a little step back and make sure that my French smile line looks completely even from side to side. I can see that the points of my French, the very tops of them, are a perfectly symmetrical width from side to side. They're both at the same height, but my line is just too thick on this side, so I'm just going to redampen the brush with some IPA, and I'm literally just going to do the exact same steps as before and just thin that line out slightly so that now my French smile line is completely even from side to side. Make sure that your French smile line points are finishing in a nice sharp point. You don't want it to finish in a blunt end. Once you're happy with this, cure on the 2S setting in your LED lamp. We're just going to repeat the exact same steps now as before with our top coat. I'm choosing to use C&D Shellac Original Top Coat. I've chosen Original for two reasons. I think it gives a really great crystal clear result, so it's not going to distort the colour of the white in our French. And the other reason I've used it is it's also a slightly thicker viscosity. So if you do have a slight bump between your white and your pink, it's not going to show. Using the same 5-point polish method as before, we're going to go into the centre, swipe down, back up to the cuticle line, swipe down, rotate to the left and down, rotate to the right and down. Notice I've got a good little bit more product on my brush this time round. Don't be stingy with your top coat. You definitely need a little bit of excess product on your brush. If you have too much, you can always squeegee it off at the end, but if you're too sparing with your top coat, you don't get a nice, thin, even, shiny result. When you're finished, cure that on the 3 setting in your LED lamp. I've just spotted a little bit of top coat I got onto the skin, so I'm just making sure I clean that off with IPA before I've popped it into the lamp. Remove your sticky top film with 99% IPA and your look is now complete. You can see we've got a lovely smooth finish to the nail with a perfect extension seal from side to side. I hope that's helped you guys. If you really liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.